welcome to another episode of Purpose Audacity. I am Charmaine Marie.
And I'm Brian Beadle. She's laughing like that because I just gave her a good joke.
Wow. Wow. Give thanks. Give thanks. We must laugh at ourselves sometimes. So guys, yeah, we're just gonna kind of jump into this topic because it's let's just say that
this topic needs comments. Just letting you know. So just plug right there.
Right.
Because we know we're all going through it.
Yeah.
So feel free to let us know how you feel at the end of this. All right.
Let's just say that this topic has been birthed out of a set of seasons.
Yep.
Right. And so and I feel like, especially with everything that we have all been going through over the past 2 years and stuff, I feel like we are all somehow qualified to speak on the topic and all of that. So
the topic is,
or the question.
The question is, how do we go about trusting God in the process? How do we go about trusting God in the process?
You want to stop? Bless the Lord. Thanks.
You know, it's very interesting because it's like in my brain it was, you know how you read things, and so in my brain, you know, everybody says trust the process, and I feel like I understand that, but in my head it was just like trust, and it had open what's the word, parentheses? Bracket? Oh,
sure.
Bracket.
Sure.
Yes, open bracket.
The parentheses too, but
No, really. In bracket, God in the close bracket, the process. Basically. Because it's putting God right in the middle. And a lot of times we're talking about trusting the process or trust the process. We really don't put God in the middle of it. We're just being like, oh, trust the process.
And just flow with
and just flow with it. And it's going to come out the right way. But what we're missing or what we're not saying or what is not being said is trust God in the process. Because we can't do it.
It's a world of a difference.
Yeah, because here what? Who are we trusting in the process? We're saying
what are we trusting
in the process? Can't we trusting ourselves?
Oh God.
Because left up to us, it don't work. It don't work. You can't trick me.
Wow.
It don't work. Right? Left up to who else? Other people we look up to. Things, institutions.
Oh God.
Left up to all of these things, who can't be trusting them? So what are we trusting in the process? Just the process? Yeah,
to kind of flow and
flow. Well, hear what? Let us say you heard it here. Don't know if you heard it first from here, but you heard it here. Trust God in the process. It makes so much difference because you realize that our hope is cling to something. Someone.
So question then. So fine, we identify that and whatever, and the importance of that. But then how do we do it? Because I find that a lot of these Christianese that we love to, and pray about it, get on your knees and fast about it and all these things. It's beautiful. Happy, joy. But then our reality is that when people hear trust the process or when people hear pray about it and whatever, like, how do you pray about it? Like, is it just one of the prayers of adoration? Is it you get what I'm saying? Or how do you plead your cause unto God? Right. But in terms of trusting the process now, what does that actually look like? Does it look like you saying, hey, God, all right, I surrender to your will, and anyway, my box boat, me take it, Jesus, or does it look like you getting up and doing a specific thing that you feel like he's nudged you to do and whatever, so that it can move the process along, and whatever, does that bring doubt into it? You get me? Because you are still getting up to try and fixing or whatever, how, you get what I'm saying? There's so many variables and stuff. And so let's talk about the how, in terms of how do we practically journey towards trusting God in the process, because of course there are many situations that are going on that I know we won't cover here clearly. So how do we do those foundational principles? Like, how do we do it?
I honestly think first and foremost, it's let's deal with the mind. The mind. It starts with a mindset. I'm not remembering the exact scripture. And possibly pop it up in here somewhere.
Hey.
But it says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If we understand that the earth is the Lord's own, and every material thing, this table, these chairs, these cameras, everything comes from the source, which is God Himself, then there is hope. There's somewhere to trust. There's somewhere to put our trust. The scriptures, John 3:16 starts off by saying,
For God so loved the world.
For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. These different things are us, we're not just reading them like, oh, okay,
Let's recite.
But it's to listen. Even the cliches, interestingly,
Right.
as much as they become somewhat like, oh, cliches, pray about everything, Christianese. The truth is, there is truth in them.
Loaded with truth.
There is actionable truth in them. It's not just to hear it may become, unfortunately, annoying for some, but actually do it. Actually take the time to pray. Actually take the time to create a possible prayer closet, or a prayer place. Actually take the time to what I'm saying, and I'm not saying that these are the only things, but I'm saying these are some of the things that we'll have to develop in your mindset, because a lot of things that has already plundered in our minds are things that it not gonna work, it not gonna happen, it not gonna work out, and what have you, reaching even the place of like, I will have no expectation of anything. So if nothing happens, I am you. But if it, why you that way? But if something happens, well, give thanks. And I'm like, no, because it cannot be that we know and believe in a God that does all and does great things, abundantly, wonderful, greater than we can ever think or imagine, and not have an expectation, that He is going to do something great. So therefore, I feel like it has to start off with our mind and how our mindset is towards trusting God in the process.
I'm happy that you mentioned that, and you closed that point with that, or I think you closed. Sorry to cut you. Because I don't remember which video or where I was listening to the before, but I don't know if it's Tim Ross was saying this. Needless to say, our ability to trust God, for many persons, it is actually linked to or struggle to trust other people based on how we've been treated. So especially in relation to father roles and father figures and authority figures and stuff, because of how we've been treated or seen our fathers and things, it's hard for us to trust God as the father who loves us, as the friend who loves us, as the brother who loves us, and all of that, and therefore would seek to do good unto us or seek to be faithful unto us, because we hurt and all of that. So in terms of fixing our mindset and stuff, it also has to do heavily with making sure that we're fixing our mindset from a healing type of outlook, right? Because a lot of us have so much to heal from in relation to that trust factor and thing. And in terms of trust as well, it becomes even harder trusting God in the process. I'll be straight up. Especially in relation to faith and the deepening of faith, because a lot of things, and I mean, we always hear the question, if God is so good, then why are people dying and all these things? And these are valid questions, and sometimes as Christians we honestly are very conflicted about giving that specific answer, and then still saying, oh well, trust God, because it feels daunting and stuff. But then when you understand and trust the heart that God has for us, and the heart that God has for His people and stuff, and the fact that, even if things do not look good in this moment and stuff, there is things working for the greater good and all of that, then it means that, all right, cool, God is somebody who plays for the long game. you know, and so we have to understand that in trusting that he plays for the long game, we will be okay in the long run.
Yeah.
Right?
And I feel like it's very interesting because what you just touched on is it starts with the mind, and the next thing it starts after is the heart.
Ooh.
And you literally just talked about that, the fact that there is a heart posture that will have to take place.
Right.
There is a healing that will have to take place in regards to how we are trusting God, because you're right, a lot of times how we see even in trusting people, and as I say, even the father aspect or being fatherless, how can I trust him like a father? How can I trust him as somebody who loves me and wants to see the best for me? Because I've not seen that in my physical life.
Right,
I've not seen that materialize in a way that I can say, I know what that. And I mean, you think about it, I mean, I don't have the statistics, but when you think about persons who have good fathers and persons who have their father who there and support them, even they go through trust factors, but understanding from a father's place, it's not hard to see it if they've had that experience with a father. At least it's a small experience compared to God, but it's still an experience because it's physically in front of me.
Right.
And so I have that experience in how I can trust my father who is physically here versus someone I've never seen, known, or understood anytime in my life.
Right.
And so it definitely is going to take a heart posture. It's going to take a heart healing. It's going to take us really realizing that God has our best interests at heart, no matter what we go through. And our thought process of God's goodness is not the same as actual God's goodness. It would, honestly, a lot of times people is like, yeah, God good to me. Yeah, and God can be good when you're seeing the greatest of things, and God is still good when you're seeing the worst of things. Because you're right, it's long game.
Yeah.
We don't see it all in the same moment. We don't know it all, and it hurts. It hurts in that time because you're like, you're questioning why, how, where, when, what did I do?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember a conversation I had with you last year, and I'll be very transparent with you guys. And I feel like for many Christians, like the past 2 years have tested our faith like beyond, oh my God, you know? And so I remember last year saying to you that, boy, God, may I show up and may I try empower your people? May I show up and may I try be a good Christian? May know some I have my little flaws and whatever, but may I try? You get me? But then it's like, things just kept on going one after the other, and we were really going through it. And you know, we're currently in an interesting season too, but like in the midst of that, somehow I have peace because I've learned to trust the heart of God, because I have seen him come through time and time again, and I have seen him elevate me even beyond where I was before, you know, after those painful seasons and stuff. So what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that you know, sometimes it also comes with our daily actions as well. Learning to trust.
You're just ticking them off. So it was mind, starts with the mind,
the heart,
then the heart, and then
the daily actions and stuff.
That's one spirit, because that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Wow. Okay. So with that said, you know, with the daily actions and stuff, like there are some things that we do sometimes that are done out of doubt. Yeah. There are some things that we do sometimes, and I mean, right, exactly. Like I'll come back for one of our very first episodes where it was mentioned that I love to control, and you know, some of us love to control and whatever, because there have been points in our lives when things have happened to us that have not been in our control. Yeah. So, and I know that I can speak from experience that is where most of my control thing, you know, has come from, right? That trauma. And so our reality is though that especially if we are learning to trust God and stuff on a daily basis, we have to recognize that we should relinquish like all of self, or you know, so that we can walk in full surrender. you know, because our reality is that if we have a certain vision about how something is to look, and God has a completely separate vision and stuff like that, if we are not trusting God in the process, if we are not trusting that God has our best interest at heart when things are going sideways in our mind or whatever, then we are going to do everything possible to try and get it back according to how we expected it to look and stuff. And then that can actually work against the will of God.
Yo, it just hit to me that this year I started off stating that, every time I go into the car and I'm leaving home, I decided to say, before I drive out or what have you, or even before I even just start working, I just speak about openly the things I'm grateful for. Because I realized last year was rough for us, and it's something that we're still coming out of. But I realized that God still brought us through, as you stated. And so I decided that, it doesn't make sense. I get worried, and I'm telling you, worry was there, the stress was there, all of that. And it's like, it don't make sense because God's still gonna come through. So you hear what? It means then I just need to stay in a place where I am trusting Him. And despite all that's gonna happen, I'm gonna trust Him. And so I decided that every time I'd say, like, Lord, I am grateful for my wife. I am grateful for life. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful that I have a job. I'm grateful that I'm able to work with people, network with people. I'm grateful that I am able to, I'm learning and I'm doing my best to fulfill my passion and my purpose. Sorry. Come back to that next episode, before. But I am just started to talk things I am grateful for in Thanksgiving. And I'm telling you, it's been very interesting because even the days I don't feel like I want to be grateful. I feel like there's some stuff that I still need. I'm doing it because those are the days that you really need to be like, I need to do this because I need to remind myself, despite all that's happening, He is still God. He is still good. And there is reason for me to be grateful. And so sometimes even those actions that we have to start to do are really just to help the mind and the heart work properly and get in alignment. Because sometimes you will have it in your mind and you have it in your heart, but you need to put it in action so you can remind the mind and remind the heart that I'm here, that I'm doing this. Going through trusting the process doesn't mean you have to like it. Trusting God in the process doesn't mean you're gonna like it. Doesn't mean it's gonna be great and cute and sunny day all day. Doesn't mean, and it also doesn't mean that you can't say, I'm fed up of this, or I don't feel good, or somebody asks you, are you okay? It doesn't mean that you can't say them, nope. I'm not good. I'm not good. But hey,
God is good.
God is good. God is good. And it's so, and we laugh, but it's so serious because sometimes you have to be in that place where you do have your humanity comes into play of what you feel and your emotions and all the different things. You do feel it. But at the end of the day, God is good.
Right. So I'm happy that you said all of that because permit me to share this.
Yeah.
So I feel like our story of coming together was actually one of the biggest examples of trusting God in the process. But a particular aspect of it where, so cut a long story short, we never knew each other before. God allowed us to meet on the last day of my 7-month fast from a bag of things, and the rest is history. However, when we finally decided to pursue a relationship and a purposeful relationship towards marriage, so it started in 2016, October 2016, and by February 2017, my life fell apart. And I remember saying consistently to you that, like this isn't how it was supposed to go. And I kept on saying like, where's the honeymoon phase and like all of these things, you know, because yeah, every relationship has like maybe like a 6 months to a year of like, you know, the cutesy stuff or whatever. It was real, you know. And I'm like, God, like how does this work? Because I'm supposed to be somehow not necessarily putting on a show for this man, but he's not supposed to feel scared about being in my life so quickly and stuff. And I'm like, God, like, you know, I don't understand. However, God had told me before I met him that, you know, he was going to send someone who was going to be like a pillar in my life, you know, and a mighty man of God who was going to influence generations. And so basically, based on how my life went, quickly left, right, since we got together and stuff, and based on us journeying through everything together and things like that, that is how we were able to really recognize that we were for each other and that God strategically placed us in each other's lives and stuff. And now here we are. And so therefore, and we kept on saying God has an interesting sense of humor. And so therefore, you know, the process was not cute. And, you know, we still go through things from time to time. But at the end of the day, we trusted that God had the right person coming towards us. Mm-hmm. We trusted that God wanted to make sure that we had the right partner for purpose pursuit and stuff like that. And so in the midst of everything and stuff, we still are able to live in the trust of God's heart for us. Mm-hmm. And now we are working on fulfilling that. Right? Go on.
Well, it's so interesting because, I mean, that's a small statement that them say, hindsight is really 2020 because as she's saying that, I'm realizing she brought the shake up in my life, and I brought the steadiness in hers. It was very interesting because I looking back now, I could see where the Lord needed a lot of things to shake up and shift up in my life. And even looking back now, I could see where the Lord wanted there a steadiness in hers.
Right.
Somewhere to just like be a safe space and to hold on to when things were definitely going left and down.
Everywhere.
You know?
Not straight.
So it's very interesting and I say that because I say that's the beautiful thing about trusting God in the process. That you can reach the place where you can realize that, whoa, I see what you are doing. I realize what you are doing. I understand now. And I am so grateful for what you are doing because it definitely was needed in my life. More than I even knew it was needed.
Right.
So that is it. That is it.
Yeah.
It starts in the mind.
Right.
It goes to the heart, and it has to do with your actions.
Daily actions.
Daily actions. It can't. I feel like that's the engine of it. The action part is the engine of it.
That mobilizes everything.
Mobilizes everything together, so that as you move through this, and as we say, it's not gonna be easy. It may not be easy, it may not be pretty, it may not be nice, anything like that. But as you move through it, the Lord will allow you to realize as you move through it, you're building muscles. Right. You're building spiritual muscles, maybe even building physical muscles.
Yeah.
You're running and going to the gym a little bit more. But whatever it is, you're building muscles, you're building the wherewithal, you're building a backbone, you're building the tenacity to really get through some stuff and deal with some stuff and deepening your faith, because what comes next, that's the thing. What comes next will require
these things.
Will require the person God is shaping and molding you through the process to handle what comes next.
Yeah. So with that said, guys, you know, we just encourage you. I mean, as we said throughout this, it's not going to always look like a clear path. It's not going to always. Sometimes it's gonna seem like, you know, is the devil all the time or whatever, when sometimes, you know, it's actually God teaching you in a moment, you know, and sometimes we wrongly ascribe things to the enemy when it's a teaching moment in life, you know, and you know, the Lord will always definitely have your best interest at heart and stuff. And that is how you're able to realign yourself. So even if it is the enemy and stuff, just know that God have you.
Yeah.
Just know that God is protecting you in the midst of it. Just know that God will see you through and stuff. And the thing is though, if it is that you try and do the back of shifting and stuff like that, it will take longer for you to reach the destination.
Yep.
Think of Jonah. And so with that said, just do your very best to seek God in the midst of whatever is going on with you. And just pray and stuff like that, and really just try and say, all right, God, what's going on? How can I align with your will? How can I walk in full surrender, like for real? And even if it don't feel good, even if it don't look good, and all of these things, just know that God has your final destination. Wow, that sounds a bit intense.
Oh boy.
But God has your destination in mind and in His hand. And so with that said, at the end of the day, no matter where you are right now and stuff, like as long as you are fully trusting God, you will be fine. You will reach where you're supposed to reach. You will, end up exactly where He intends for you to end up. Just as long as you're willing to just walk according to His will. All right. So with that said, guys, I feel like this episode ministered to me while hopefully it ministered to you. And if you guys have any other comments you want to drop, any other thoughts in terms of how to actually trust God in the process and stuff, remember to drop them below. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and continuing to journey with you.
All right.
All right, guys. So see you in the next episode. Hey y'all, what's up? I am Charmaine Marie, and I just want to thank you so much for watching this episode of Purposed Audacity. And with that said, I want to encourage you to check out PAJE Magazine, which is, the parent of Purposed Audacity. So over at PAJE Magazine, it's a Christian hub. It's a digital Christian hub that curates content to help you in your Christian walk. So whether it's about stewarding your finances properly, personal development, chasing purpose, and the works, we have it over at PAJE Magazine, all for you, right? So go ahead and check out the links below, because we want to make sure that you are feeling like you're moving forward healthily in Jesus Christ. Take care.